Back here on CBS Sports HQ, training camps are well underway across the country, and our Evan Washburn, as you can see from this map, is a very busy guy. Evan is like all over the country almost. Today, he is at Bills camp, and that just kind of kicks off a round of training camps from Detroit to Minnesota, Kansas City, Cincinnati, the Steelers out in Pittsburgh, and so on and so forth. So we were talking about the Bills today. Is there always high expectations for the Bills, and the storyline continues. Is their championship window still open? Evan Washburn joining us right now from Bills camp. First things first, Evan, QB1 got a massive extension this offseason, 6-year extension, $330 million, a good chunk of that already guaranteed. We know Josh Allen was pretty humble about it, saying, like, I don't want to impact the cap. So how is the way that his deal was done kind of impact the rest of the team and how they're operating?
Well, it was a big offseason for the Bills in terms of extensions, contracts with homegrown talent. Obviously, Josh Allen, for good reason, the reigning MVP, was the headliner, but they signed a lot of their draft picks to extensions, Greg Rousseau being one of them across the offensive line, Christian Benford, their top corner. And I think that's what's so impressive about this team and Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott leading things, that they've done really well in the draft. They've developed a culture, and they have continuity right now, which is challenging in the modern NFL with a salary cap and just the way that this league works, the volatility. The Bills have been very consistent. Now, the obvious, and you laid it out with your window comment, is they've been consistently on the doorstep of a Super Bowl. Are they actually ready to push through? I believe they have everything necessary to do so. The question is whether or not they will.
All right, you mentioned this offseason, and one thing that they have not got done, a contract that is not done, is for James Cook, right? He has been very vocal about wanting to get a new deal. He is at practice there, still awaiting that contract. He's been very productive for them, Evan, but what is the latest coming out of camp as it pertains to James Cook and what's going to get done with his contract situation?
Well, Jacqueline, no developments, at least as of this morning, when it comes to an actual contract being agreed to. But the vibes, I would describe them as positive because, as you mentioned, James Cook is here. This is a rarity in the modern NFL for a player who is upset with their contractual situation, not just showing up, but participating fully. We've deemed the term hold-in now is very in vogue, where a player will come, avoid the fines, maybe talk about a tight back, and just stay out of any compromising drill that might put them in harm's way. James Cook has done none of that, but he has been steadfast, as recent as yesterday, talking to the media about him believing what his value is, and that's reportedly been in the $15 million per year range. That's kind of the Derrick Henry range, not the Saquon range, which is in the low 20s, but there seems to be a gap there. You have to imagine, again, because of the way they operate here in Buffalo or right now in Rochester, that they would like to get James Cook signed because they like extending players that are productive that they've drafted. But they also have to keep in mind, because of that Josh Allen extension, that year 26 and 27, the next two seasons coming up, that's going to put them in some really challenging spots. And what I know the Bills and Brandon Beane want to avoid is having to slash next year and the year after just to take care of somebody this season.
Right, and to your point, it is kind of a rarity, and we're seeing that across the league with Trey Hendrickson holding out and Scary Terry with the Commanders and so on. So one of the biggest offseason moves or acquisitions here for Buffalo, getting Joey Bosa to replace Von Miller. So how is Bosa kind of been gelling with that defense? What are the vibes, as we love to say this time of the year, as it pertains to him and his new team?
It is vibe season, Jacqueline. They're strong. I think he's fit in incredibly well from a personality standpoint. Anybody who's been around Joey Bosa knows he's a fun dude to be around, and teams love having him. But what's most important is he healthy? Throughout the spring, he was managing a calf injury. The good news is he was able to start training camp as a full participant, full go. I'm sure they're going to be careful with him over the course of the next, let's call it 6 weeks heading into week 1. But unfortunately for Joey Bosa, injuries have been a narrative around him for really the last 4 to 5 seasons. When healthy, he's still a very productive and dynamic pass rusher. But only 5 sacks a year ago, 14 games played. Replacing Von Miller, I guess on paper, that's kind of a wash with what Von did a year ago. I think they're hoping for more from Joey Bosa than they got from Vaughn last season, and from what Joey did last year with the Chargers, it's all going to come down to health. And that's the big question mark, just big picture for a team that is really just trying to run it back. Can this defense be that maybe 10 to 15% better? Because at times they were good last year. They got banged up in the middle of the season. And in postseason games, they just haven't been at their best. And that really starts with the pass rush. So they're really hoping that Bosa can help that area.
Yeah, and they want to be at their best as a whole for the postseason, because I already kind of talked about it, Evan, but we know the narrative that is still out there despite Josh Allen finally winning the MVP award, the narrative of how do they get over the hump? How do they beat Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City? Can they get to a Super Bowl? So how has the team kind of been facing some of those narratives, I guess, at camp? Because you can't control it, right? But how are they kind of dealing with that when it's still looming over them as we're awaiting the season?
It's a great question, and it's really the only question that you can think of when you prepare to talk to anyone with the Bills, most notably Josh Allen. What's on your mind? How do you break through? How do you beat Kansas City? And we just had about a 10-minute conversation. I'm sure you'll hear some of it on the show. And I thought he lent some good perspective. He actually referenced Scotty Scheffler's comments that became, let's call it viral ahead of the Open Championship about just that perspective and what it's like to compete in the arena, and whether you have the highest of success or the most gutting failures, the next day everybody kind of moves on and they're asking you what's next. So I think from what I can understand, just spending some time around this team and Josh specifically, they're just so process oriented that they recognize that there's a reality that they can do everything in their power, both in effort and execution, and still not win. We saw a drop last year in the last play of that game for Buffalo, and those can go one or two ways. And I think there's some comfort that they found in that reality, as much as they do want to make the play late to push through. The key is, Jacqueline, and they say this here, they have to be playoff caliber, because none of this matters if you don't take care of your division and make the playoffs. So that's really the sole focus right now. Make a playoff caliber team once again, get into the tournament, and then hopefully this season, for their sake, they can make that play.
Just got to take it one day at a time. Evan, we appreciate it. Always great stuff out of Bills camp, which kicks off a very long training camp tour for our very own Evan Washburn. We are still counting down until Sunday's return. September 7th, that is the date that we have circled on our calendars. Remember, you can watch your local game live on CBS and, of course, streaming on Paramount+.
You need your sports news all the time.
We've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you.
Big news coming out of the NFL. A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
With highlights.
What a finish at the final round of play.
And in-depth analysis.
Can they three-peat? Tony Romo joins the conversation.
What can you say about this game?
When you need your sports in a snap.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
Find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.